welcome to Anime Recaps. In this video, we will explain Wise Man's Grandchild. This anime tells the story of a young man who dies in a car accident and is reborn in a magical new world. The old yet wise man finds the boy, raises him from infancy and teaches him combat and powerful magic along the way. Will this man become a hero who can save many lives? Let's find out in Wise Man's Grandchild. Wise Man's Grandchild opens by showing an ordinary office man who has just finished work for the day. Unfortunately, he was hit by a car on his way home from work. The opening scene ends by showing the man lying on the ground covered in blood before closing his eyes. The scene moves to another world, where a little boy is enjoying the day happily. A little boy named Shin Wolford is a reincarnated figure of a man who previously died after a car accident. Shin was born in this other world as a baby, even though he still had memories of his previous life on Earth. This new world is different from Earth, where the inhabitants have magical abilities. The next scene shows Shin entering the house and meeting a grandfather named Merlin Wolford who has been taking care of him since he was a baby. Merlin raised Shin with his wife, Melida Wolford. Merlin and Melida are not Shin's biological grandparents. They find Shin as a baby and stranded alone after his parents died from a demon attack on a trip. The story revolves when Shin has grown into a 15-year-old teenager. At that time, Merlin and Melida's house had important guests from the capital. Shin was surprised to learn that their guest at that time was the king's entourage and was curious about the reason for their arrival. The king then told him that he was a friend of Merlin. Once upon a time, Merlin and Melida defeated a demon who destroyed his kingdom. Since then, Merlin and Melida have also received the title of hero from the kingdom. Merlin apparently is not an ordinary grandpa but a magic master. Meanwhile, Melida is a very powerful and respected magic tool maker. This background made Shin able to be trained by a martial master from the kingdom. So at a very young age, Shin received training from 3 important figures in the kingdom with their respective abilities. After conversing in the house, Merlin invited the king and his entourage to come out and see Shin's immense magical ability. Shin managed to amaze the king's entourage to the point where he was amazed by the magic power he had. Shin's magic ability is admittedly very great, it even tends to make no sense. The king's entourage said even Merlin, who was a magic master, didn't have as much ability as Shin. The world has a pretty interesting concept of magic. Even though magic is not a foreign thing in this world, to be able to cast magic abilities, one must know the elements in it. Shin demonstrated how his magic ability could create a blue flame that was so beautiful. To be able to cast this magic ability, Shin simply imagined an element that could create blue flames, such as explosions, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. When the composition of each element was added, then Shin could create an explosion with magic. Even Shin's magic ability was not lost because his memories from his previous life on Earth had not been lost, so that he knows what elements are needed to be able to cast magic abilities. The king's entourage was astonished by Shin's magical abilities. To them, Shin's ability to know the elements to cast magic power was simply hard to imagine. Shin introduced the teleportation magic upon returning to the house, which he had successfully created and mastered. The magic power again amazes the king's entourage and again makes them compare with Merlin, the magic master who claims to have not mastered Shin's teleportation magic. Even one of the entourage members said every kingdom would want Shin if they knew about his power. The king agreed with this opinion and expressed his concern that if other kingdoms found out about Shin's magical prowess, he would be used as a weapon of war. For that, the king then offered to Shin to enter the magic academy in the capital so that he was thought to be not much different from other teenagers his age. The king's suggestion received much support until Shin finally moved to the royal capital. Shin came to the royal capital with Merlin and Melida. Unexpectedly, their arrival was greeted so livelily by the residents. The reason is that Merlin and Melida are very famous as heroes who have saved the kingdom. His 2 grandparents even had fans storming their arrival at the royal capital. The scene shifts to a few days later when Shin walks around the city center while enjoying apples. At that time, Shin saw 2 teenage girls being bullied by a group of delinquent men and tried to help her. Of course, he easily defeated the gang of delinquents. Even Shin didn't need to use magic abilities and defeated them with just his martial arts skills. The 2 teenage girls were named Cecilian Cicely von Claude and Maria von Messina. Since that first meeting, Shin has been fascinated by Cecilian's beautiful and cute face. After getting acquainted, they have a conversation, and it is revealed that Cecilian and Maria are 2 admirers of Merlin and Melida. Despite knowing this, Shin kept his 2 new friends a secret that he was the grandson of the hero they admired. The next day, Shin started the first day of school. While going through the registration process, a noble's son named Kurt von Rietzberg harasses Shin. Shin, who did not accept this, immediately hit Kurt back when another teenage boy came to intervene. The boy named August von Erlscheid advised that the Magic Academy was not allowed to oppress other students using position or status. August was apparently a prince, which meant he was the king's son. Shin was surprised to hear that and accidentally called the king an uncle. His words shocked the other students who overheard their conversation. But August didn't seem angry and instead found Shin funny because he had never heard anyone call the king his uncle. Finally, August and Shin became good friends. On the first day of school, Shin then met Maria and Sicilian, who apparently attended the same magic academy. Sicilian and Maria were curious about Shin's identity after seeing him casually conversing with Prince August. But before Maria and Sicilian's curiosity is answered, they must first undergo a series of tests to determine whether they are worthy of becoming academy students. All new students go through written and practical tests, where they have to demonstrate their magical abilities. The practice test was Shin's first time seeing a teenager his age perform magic. He was surprised when he saw them cast magic abilities by casting spells. How they cast magic apparently embarrassed Shin, even though they received praise from the examiners. When it was his turn, Shin's turn took the other students by surprise because he didn't cast spells when casting magic abilities. In addition, Shin's magic ability is very large, so he can create explosions. It was even greater because the magic didn't reduce Shin's strength at all. Predictably, Shin got the highest score in the Magic Academy entrance exam. After the proficiency test, the officially accepted students into the Magic Academy underwent an acceptance ceremony. The reception ceremony was attended by a series of royal dignitaries. The two heroes, Merlin and Melida, nobles, and even the students started from the king. Shin, who got the highest score in the entrance exam, was asked to come to the front of the line to read a welcoming speech on behalf of the other new students. His full name was called and his friends, including Prince August, Maria, and Sicilian, realized that Shin was the granddaughter of hero Merlin and Merlin Wolford. The admission ceremony went smoothly and they started a new life as Magic Academy students. The scene changed when the school started and Shin with Maria and Sicilian walked down the school hallway. Just then Kurt suddenly came and disturbed Sicilian. Luckily Shin saw that and immediately protected Sicilian and pushed Kurt away. Again August comes and warns Kurt again that nobility is meaningless at school. He also asked Kurt not to bother Sicilian anymore. After the turmoil due to Kurt's disturbance subsided, Shin finally decided to invite his friends over to the house to meet Merlin and Melida. Maria and Sicilian were of course very enthusiastic, especially when they visited Shin's house and met his grandparents. Melinda asked Shin to use magic power to make a protective suit for Sicilian. Then Shin used teleportation magic to take his friends to his house first, at the hut in the middle of the forest. Shin's magic ability made his three friends disbelieving because they judged that there was no way magic could make them teleport. But Shin proved this by showing his ability. The scene continued to Shin, who was now getting closer to Sicilian. Even he always looks after and accompanies Sicilian every time she leaves and comes home from school. Shin's talent and intelligence also made him popular at school and he made many friends. Finally, Shin gathered his friends to create a magic study group. Behind the calm of Shin's days at the Magic Academy, the royals detected a threatening human magic power. In a meeting, the king asked his men to carry out an investigation and began deploying an army of monster hunters. The threat not only targeted the kingdom but also Shin. The threat comes through Kurt, who doesn't accept Shin's popularity. Moreover, Shin always managed to beat him with martial power. Kurt finally asked for great strength from the private tutor, Oliver Strom. Oliver is not just an ordinary teacher but a sorcerer from another kingdom whose identity has not been revealed. In the end, Oliver grants Kurt's wish to have great power to defeat Shin. Back at school, Shin was out for a walk with his friends when Kurt suddenly appeared. Apparently Oliver's immense power turned Kurt into a demon, currently intent on destroying Shin. Usually, demons are born from animals, but their power can be very powerful if a demon is formed from a human. It would even be big enough to destroy a country. In addition, humans who become demons will lose their minds so that they can no longer remember their own identities. Even these demon humans can form when they gain too much power beyond the capabilities of their bodies. This is what apparently happened to Kurt after getting great power from Oliver. Shin realized Kurt's strength and asked Sicilian and August to back off so he could fight Kurt himself. When his friends wanted to help, Shin said they would only be a hindrance to burden him. But Shin actually had trouble in the fight against Kurt. Because this was the first time for him to fight against a human-turned-demon with great power. Even his lightning magic power didn't manage to subdue Kurt. Kurt will blow himself up at one point in the fight, which means the entire academy will explode. Shin tried to avoid this, though he was forced to kill Kurt with the sword. That incident made Shin suspect that there was someone who could have a great ability to turn humans into demons. Shin explained Merlin's words about humans becoming demons with the unimaginable power to his friends. However, when fighting Kurt, Shin realized that the demonic human's strength was actually weak. Shin's victory in killing Kurt the Demon Man also earned him an award from the king. Like his grandparents, he also became a popular new hero and was admired by many citizens. The first part of Shin's adventure in Wise Man's Grandchild ends with him being hailed by beautiful women as the hero who saves the kingdom. The moral of this film is that not everyone deserves great power. Some people with great power can become heroes, while others become demons.